Commander Juan stood at the airlock entrance of the ISS Harmony, straightening his blue diplomatic uniform one last time. His heart raced as the doors slid open with a gentle hiss. This was humanity's first meeting with the Astrans, and as lead diplomat, the weight of this historic moment rested on his shoulders. "Remember, stay calm and follow protocol," Captain Jin whispered beside him. "These beings have technology centuries beyond ours." Juan nodded, taking a deep breath, as they stepped onto the gleaming silver platform of the Astran Greeting Hall. The room was massive, with arching crystal ceilings that caught and scattered light in mesmerizing patterns. Dozens of tall, elegant beings stood in perfect formation, their luminous silver skin seeming to glow from within. Each Astran had unique violet markings that swirled across their temples and down their long necks. The human delegation moved forward slowly. Juan had studied the briefing files extensively, but nothing had prepared him for the ethereal beauty of these beings. Their movements were fluid, almost like they were floating rather than walking. An older Astran with elaborate violet patterns stepped forward. "I am High Elder Mun of the Sovereign Council. We welcome you to Astra, children of Earth." Juan bowed slightly, exactly 15 degrees as instructed in their preparation. "We bring greetings from humanity. I am Commander Juan, appointed representative of the United Earth Government." The formal introductions continued as each member of both delegations was presented. Juan noticed how the Astrans seemed to communicate with subtle movements of their head tilts and finger positions, beyond the words they spoke. Then she entered. From a side entrance, a female Astran glided into the hall. Unlike the others in formal silver robes, she wore flowing garments of deep purple that matched the more elaborate markings on her face. 6 slender fingers on each hand were adorned with rings that caught the light. "My daughter, Lady Neri," announced High Elder Mun with what seemed like pride. The moment Lady Neri's eyes met Juan's, something strange happened. She stopped mid-step, her silver face showing an emotion Juan couldn't identify. Her eyes widened, the violet irises expanding until they nearly filled the silvery whites. "Is everything all right?" Captain Jin whispered to Juan, noticing the sudden tension. Before Juan could answer, Lady Neri broke formation and walked directly toward him. The other Astrans murmured, their previously perfect composure breaking. Juan shook his head slowly. "I have no idea, but I think I just got married." After the shocking greeting ceremony, Commander Juan and the human delegation were taken to a smaller room with curved walls made of a smooth pearl-like material. The humans sat nervously at a round table while they waited for the Astrans to return. Captain Jin paced back and forth, his boots clicking on the polished floor. "This is bad, Juan." "Very bad," Jin muttered. "We've trained for first contact for years, and nowhere in the manual does it cover alien marriage proposals." Before Juan could respond, the doors slid open. An Astran with more modest markings than the others entered and bowed slightly. "I am Elder Tai, cultural liaison to the Sovereign Council," she said. Her voice was gentler than the other Astrans they had met. "I have been asked to explain what has happened." The humans leaned forward as Elder Tai took a seat across from them. "In our culture, this recognition is sacred," she explained, her 6-fingered hands forming shapes in the air as she spoke. "Lady Neri has experienced a soul binding, the rarest form of connection in our society." Juan rubbed his temples, feeling the beginning of a headache. On Earth, marriages are consensual agreements, not spontaneous declarations. "I mean no disrespect, but I can't be bound to someone I just met." Elder Tai's silver face showed what might have been understanding. Lady Neri did not choose this either. Soul bindings occur only once every few generations. Our histories speak of them as the truest form of connection. Ambassador Song, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Can it be? Undone. Rejected." Elder Tai's markings darkened slightly. To reject a soul binding is to reject the fundamental energies that connect all living beings. It would be seen as the gravest insult not only to Lady Neri, but to our entire belief system. After the meeting, Ambassador Song pulled Juan aside in the human quarters. Her face was tight with worry. "This misunderstanding threatens everything we've worked for," she said in a low voice. "Years of preparation, all the resources Earth put into this mission. Find a solution without causing offense." Juan nodded, though his mind was still reeling. That evening, Juan was invited to meet with Lady Nari in one of Estra's famous garden domes. When he arrived, she was standing near a pool of glowing blue liquid, watching small floating creatures dance across its surface. "Commander Juan," she said, turning to him. Up close, her silver skin had subtle patterns that shifted with her movements. "Thank you for coming." Juan stood awkwardly, unsure of the proper distance to maintain. "Lady Nari, I think we need to talk about what happened." "You are confused," she stated. "That is understandable. On my world, people get to know each other before making such commitments." Nari gestured to a bench made of what looked like living plants. As they sat, Juan noticed how the garden seemed to respond to her presence, flowers turning toward her like she was their son. "I did not choose this," she told him, her violet eyes meeting his. "The ancient energy that flows through all living things chose for us. When I saw you, I felt the current that connects stars to planets, water to land. It was like recognizing a part of myself I never knew was missing." As she spoke, Juan felt a strange warmth spreading through his chest. The same tingling sensation from when she had touched his face returned, fainter but unmistakable. "I've never believed in fate," Juan said honestly. Neri smiled, her markings brightening. "Perhaps fate believes in you regardless." They talked for hours. Juan discovered her brilliant mind, her passion for xenobiology, and her role as next in line to lead her people. By the time he returned to the human quarters, he was deeply conflicted. The diplomatic part of him knew this situation was a crisis that could derail the mission. Yet he couldn't deny the strange warmth he felt whenever Neri was near, or how easily conversation flowed between them despite their different worlds. That night, as he lay in bed, Juan realized with a start that he was looking forward to seeing her again. 1 week into the diplomatic mission, the Astran Council decided that official negotiations could continue despite the unexpected soul binding. However, according to tradition, Juan and Neri were required to spend several hours each day together, building their connection. These mandatory meetings began awkwardly, but soon became the highlight of Juan's days. The Estrans provided them with a private chamber in the floating gardens, where light filtered through crystal panes, and strange musical plants hummed softly when touched. "Your world is beautiful," Juan said one afternoon as they walked along a path lined with flowers that changed colors with the temperature. "So different from Earth, yet somehow familiar." Neri smiled, her silver skin catching the light. "Tell me more about your home." As Juan described Earth's oceans and mountains, he noticed Neri nodding before he finished his sentences, as if she already knew what he would say. "How do you do that?" he asked, stopping beneath a tree with spiral branches. Neri tilted her head. "Do what?" "You react to things I'm about to say, not just what I've already said." Her violet eyes widened slightly. She seemed to debate with herself before speaking. "I should have told you sooner. My lineage possesses rare telepathic abilities. Most Estrans can sense emotions, but my family can perceive thoughts too." Juan stepped back instinctively. "You can read my mind." "Not exactly," she said quickly. "It's more like hearing music from another room. I catch feelings, impressions, occasionally clear thoughts if they're strong enough." She reached for his hand hesitantly. "I felt your mind from the moment your ship entered our atmosphere. It calls to mine in a way I cannot explain." Juan felt a mixture of violation and fascination. "Is that why you claimed me as your husband? Because you could hear my thoughts?" "No," she said firmly. "The soul binding is separate from telepathy. It's deeper, rarer. I've never experienced anything like it before." Their conversation was interrupted by the garden door sliding open. An Astran male with sharp, angular markings entered, flanked by two others. Unlike the flowing robes most Estrans wore, these three were dressed in fitted uniforms with metal accents. "Commander Do," Neri said, her posture stiffening. The lead Estran barely acknowledged Juan, addressing Neri in their native language. The conversation grew heated, with Neri's markings darkening as she responded. Finally, Commander Do switched to English, clearly wanting Juan to understand. "This mockery of our sacred traditions will not stand," he announced, his voice cold. "A human cannot participate in a soul binding. The Council is blinded by their desire for alliance with these primitive beings." "That's enough, Do," Neri said. "The Council has accepted our binding." "The Pure Path does not accept it," Do replied, referring to what Juan recognized as the isolationist faction Neri had mentioned previously. "Remember where your true loyalties should lie, daughter of Estra." After they left, Neri explained that the Pure Path had opposed contact with humans from the beginning. "They believe mixing with other species will dilute our culture and abilities," she said sadly, "and our binding has become their rallying cry." That night, Juan tossed in his sleep, plagued by strange dreams. He saw the human quarters, their living pods, the wall panel behind Ambassador Song's bed. Something dark and pulsing was hidden there, counting down. He saw faces in shadow, heard Commander Do's voice giving orders. Juan woke with a gasp, sweat-soaked and certain. This wasn't just a nightmare. Somehow, he knew it was real. Without bothering to dress, he ran through the corridors in his sleek clothes, barefoot on the cool floors. He pounded on Ambassador Song's door until a groggy assistant opened it. "Emergency," Juan shouted, pushing past them to the ambassador's sleeping area. "There's something behind this panel." Despite protests and confused questions, Juan pulled the bed away from the wall and pried open the panel. Inside, just as his dream had shown, was a small pulsing device attached to the power conduits. The timer showed less than 10 minutes remaining. "Evacuation. Now," Ambassador Song ordered, suddenly wide awake. As security personnel safely removed and contained the explosive, Juan stood in the corridor, trembling. Somehow he had seen this before it happened, and as he looked up, he saw Neri running toward him, her face showing the same fear and relief he felt. "You felt it too," he whispered as she reached him. She nodded, taking his hands. "Our minds are truly linking, and someone doesn't want us to succeed." After the bombing attempt, security tightened around both human and Estran delegations. The ISS Harmony crew began scanning for more threats, while the Estran Council launched an investigation into Commander Do's activities. Despite the tension, the diplomatic talks continued, now with an urgency born of shared danger. 3 days later, Elder Tai requested a private meeting with Juan and Ambassador Song in the ancient library beneath the council building. The underground chamber was filled with strange objects. Books made of thin crystal sheets, scrolls of metallic fabric, and devices that projected three-dimensional images when touched. "There is something you must see," Elder Ta said, her voice low as she led them to a secluded alcove. She unlocked a cabinet with a touch of her 6 fingers and carefully removed what looked like sheets of thin, glowing material. "There are ancient texts," whispered Elder Tai, showing Juan and Ambassador Song the faded manuscripts. "They speak of a foreigner with a mind that bridges worlds who would save Estra from destruction." Juan leaned closer, studying the strange symbols that somehow seemed almost familiar to him. "This prophecy dates back 10,000 years, Elder Ta continued. "It tells of a time when Astra would face division from within, and only a being from beyond our star system, one whose mind could join with ours, would prevent catastrophe." Ambassador Song frowned. "You believe Commander Juan is this prophesied savior?" "The council is divided on this interpretation," Elder Tai admitted. "But Lady Neri's soul binding with a human has never happened before. And now Commander Juan has demonstrated telepathic abilities no human should possess." "I'm not telepathic," Juan protested. "I just had a dream. Which is why we would like to conduct some tests." Elder Ta said gently. The next morning, Juan found himself in the Astren medical facility, surrounded by equipment unlike anything on Earth. Sensors shaped like delicate silver webs were placed on his head, while Astren doctors observed his brain patterns on floating displays. Neri sat across from him, connected to similar devices. "Try to relax," she said with an encouraging smile. "Just look at me and keep your mind open." As they gazed at each other, Juan felt the now familiar warmth spreading through his chest. The doctors murmured in surprise, pointing to the displays where patterns of light pulsed in sync. "Remarkable," said the chief medical officer. "His neural patterns are adapting to match Astren frequencies." Medical tests revealed Juan's unusual neural patterns allowed him to receive Astren telepathic signals, something previously thought impossible for humans. When the results were presented to the council, debate erupted. Some saw it as proof of the ancient prophecy, while others, aligned with Commander Do, called it a dangerous aberration. Meanwhile, Juan and Neri practiced strengthening their mental connection. Starting with simple images and feelings, they gradually learned to share thoughts more directly. The experience was unlike anything Juan had ever known, intimate yet freeing, as if parts of his mind previously unused were finally awakening. 5 days after the bombing attempt, Juan was meeting with Neri in the garden when they both felt a sharp spike of alarm. Without words, they knew something was wrong. "The council chambers," Neri gasped, already running toward the central building. They arrived to find chaos. Commander Do and dozens of uniformed Pure Path supporters had stormed the chambers, armed with weapons Juan had never seen before. High Elder Mun and several council members were already captured. "Today we reclaim Astra's purity," Do announced to his followers. "The human alliance ends now. Our telepathic amplifier is ready to deploy against their weak minds." Hidden behind a column, Juan and Neri watched in horror as Do's scientists activated a large device in the center of the room. Its purpose became clear as Juan felt an immediate stabbing pain in his head, a weaponized form of telepathy designed to attack human brains. "They'll use it against your ship," Neri whispered urgently. "We have to warn them." Without conscious decision, Juan reached for Neri's hand. Their fingers intertwined, 5 with 6, and their minds joined completely. The pain from the device vanished as their shared consciousness expanded outward, reaching toward both the human ship and the loyal Estrans throughout the city. Together, they projected a clear warning. Do's coup, the weapon, the danger to both species. The message flew through mental pathways, carried by their unique connection. As they maintained the warning, Juan and Neri hid in a small anteroom off the main chambers, knowing reinforcements would come but uncertain if they would arrive in time. "What I feel for you isn't just cultural or biological," Juan told Neri as they awaited help. "It's something neither of our worlds fully understands yet." She touched his face, mirroring their first meeting. "Perhaps that's exactly why we found each other." The battle for the Astran Council chambers lasted less than an hour. The warning Juan and Neri projected reached both the ISS Harmony and the loyal Astran security forces simultaneously. Captain Jin led a team of human security personnel armed with non-lethal weapons, while High Elder Mun's loyal guards approached from the other side of the building. Commander Do and his Pure Path followers found themselves trapped between two forces. When they tried to activate the telepathic weapon at full power, they discovered its controls no longer responded. Later, Neri would explain how their mental link had somehow disrupted the device's operating frequency. Juan watched from a doorway as Do was taken into custody, the commander's angular markings now dull with defeat. "This isn't over," Do hissed as he was led away. "Mixing with aliens will be our downfall." High Elder Mun approached Juan, his silver face showing signs of age that Juan hadn't noticed before. "You have saved many lives today, Commander Juan, both human and Astran." "It was Neri," Juan said, looking to where she stood speaking with medical staff. "Without our connection, I would have been useless." "That is precisely the point," Elder Mun replied. "Neither of you could have done this alone." Perhaps that is what the ancient texts meant all along. In the days that followed, both delegations worked to repair the damage Doe's coup attempt had caused. The alliance talks progressed rapidly, with new understanding between the species. Humans offered their technology for space travel and terraforming, while Estrans shared their advances in medicine and sustainable energy. 2 weeks after the coup attempt, Ambassador Song called Juan to a private meeting in the human quarters. "Earth Command has approved my recommendation," she said, sliding a datapad across the table. "They're offering you the position of permanent ambassador to Astra." Juan stared at the screen, processing the implications. "They want me to stay here." Ambassador Song nodded. "Your unique connection with Lady Nari makes you the perfect choice. Plus, you've proven yourself under pressure." She smiled slightly. "And it solves our diplomatic marriage problem rather neatly." Juan felt a mixture of surprise and relief. He had been worrying about leaving Astra, leaving Nari, when the mission ended. Now he wouldn't have to choose between duty and the connection that had become so important to him. That evening, he found Nari in their garden, sitting beside the glowing pool where they often talked. When he told her the news, her markings brightened with joy. "Then we can truly build something together," she said, taking his hands. "A bridge between our worlds." "We will honor both traditions," Nari said later as they planned their partnership ceremony. The event would combine elements of Earth weddings with the Astran bonding ritual, creating something entirely new, just like their relationship. Scientists from both worlds gathered to study their unique connection, setting up a joint research facility dedicated to understanding the telepathic link between them. The findings were already revolutionizing ideas about consciousness and communication across species. "Your mind has physically changed," Dr. Min, the human neurologist, explained during one examination. "Your brain patterns now share characteristics with Astran patterns. It's as if you're evolving into something between both species." On the night of their ceremony, the great crystal dome of Astra's central gathering hall was open to the stars. Representatives from Earth and every region of Astra filled the chamber, witnessing the formal alliance between worlds. Juan and Neri stood in the center, dressed in garments that blended human and Astran designs. As the ancient words were spoken and new vows exchanged, Juan felt their minds joining more deeply than ever before. As stars shone through Astra's crystal dome, Juan finally responded to Neri's first declaration from many weeks ago. "And you, Lady of the Stars, are my wife. Across galaxies, across differences, across time." Ambassador Song smiled as she witnessed their hands joining. 5 fingers intertwined with 6, a living symbol of the alliance between worlds. In that moment, the distance between Earth and Astra seemed to vanish, as if the very space between stars could be bridged by understanding and connection. Later that night, as celebration continued around them, Juan and Neri slipped away to the garden where they had first begun to know each other. In the quiet beneath alien trees, they sat together, no longer needing words to share their thoughts of the future they would build, not just for themselves, but for both their worlds.